Welcome to Cricket World TV Hotspot. We are just hours away now from the start of the Ashes, so it seemed right to do a hotspot. I'm John Pennington, and joining me to make his debut on Cricket World TV is Rob Johnston. Hello, Rob.
Hi, John.
And yeah, we're getting close now, aren't we, to that very first test in Cardiff. How much for you does the first test really define the series as a whole?
Well, I think for me, we had a good series against New Zealand, test series, and then on the back of the one-day performances that have really got the public behind them, I think there's a big swell of support for England. And if you remember in 2009, what happened was they actually managed to salvage the test match, draw the test match, and then that was a catalyst really for them to go on to win that series. So I think this is a really important game for Alistair Cook and his side, and if they can win, get away with the draw, then it will set the series up nicely for them, I think.
And I suppose another factor there is coming off the back of the 5-0 loss last time round. England will be very, very keen, obviously, to lay down a marker, to be a lot more competitive than they were down in Australia.
Yes, I think so. I mean, Alistair Cook today in his press conference said, we don't want to keep looking back 2 years to what happened, it's not relevant. But I think if they suddenly find themselves behind the 8 ball early on in the series, then those wounds will come back and will perhaps create an issue for them. So yes, it is a very different England team now. It's a different Australian team, different series, but still I think if Australia get on top early, then those thoughts and those wounds will open up. So it's England's job to make sure it doesn't happen.
And so what about a prediction for Cardiff, Rob? Can they make sure that they get off to a good start, or will Australia be too strong? If you look at the odds, Australia odds on favourite to win both the series and the first test in Cardiff, but what's your prediction?
Yes, I mean, I think Australia are favourites. They'll start as favourites. They haven't had a particularly excellent last tour game against Essex. They've obviously lost Ryan Harris, so I think it might be a bit of a tighter game than people think. The key will be if England can withstand the barrage of pace that they're going to get from the Australians. So I think it's going to be a very tight game, but I can see maybe Australia just coming out on top of this one.
Yeah, for me, it's a difficult one to call. We were doing Mr. Predictor earlier, which you can watch on the Cricket World website. I've actually gone for a draw, but it could be quite close, and that sort of moves me nicely onto my next question. Really, is there a sense that this series is going to be quite a lot closer than people have maybe expected? Certainly, if you'd asked them a few months ago.
Yes, I mean, I think so. England ordinarily in their conditions are quite a different proposition to when they play away. The loss of Harris for Australia is a big blow for them, I think. He was a very versatile bowler. He could attack, he could defend dry up runs, he could be the enforcer. So I think that's going to be a big loss for them. England, if you look at their team, have a lot of X-factor cricketers now. So the likes of Stokes and Buttler and Wood, they're really aggressive cricketers, positive cricketers. And I think, as I said, if England can start well, a bit of confidence will build, and it will be tight. And I really can see England winning a game or two in this series, and I can see it being a very, very close run thing.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the sort of X-factor players there from England. You could see a lot of runs from the lower order, I suppose, in this series. But who else might you pick out as key players on either side for both teams?
Well, I think for Australia, Stephen Smith's obviously been elevated to number 3 in their order. He's the best ranked Test batsman in the world. I know Stuart Broad has said that might be an advantage for England, and in a way it can be against the new ball in English conditions. That might move around, so he'll be a key player. If he scores runs, that will really set Australia up for big totals. On England's side, I can't get past Ben Stokes really. I really think his pivotal position at number 6, where he may be coming in either after the loss of some early wickets or against maybe the second new ball, and his role with the ball as well is going to be very, very important. And what I think Stokes embodied on the last tour to Australia, when everyone around him was sort of falling down, he really stood up and was counted, especially in that Perth Test match where he scored 100. So he's the sort of cricketer that can galvanise a team with bat and ball, and I think he'll be really, really important. So again, if he plays well, I think England will do well.
It's interesting to call that, because a lot of people who we've been talking to, they're going with the safe sort of option. A lot of them saying Steve Smith, and then sort of Joe Root or Stuart Broad. It's I think Ben Stokes is on his day. He's very, very good, isn't he? And we saw in that Lord's Test against New Zealand how he really can turn it on with bat and ball. So yeah, it could be interesting. It's one of those, if Stokes has a good series, England have a good series.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, Stokes' ability to dictate the game will depend on how the top order fare. So if Cook, Root, Bell manage to score some runs, then that really does give him and Butler a licence at 6 and 7 to go and express themselves. But again, in that Lord's Test, he showed that he didn't necessarily need a good platform. Him and Joe Root really took the attack to the New Zealand bowlers from a very difficult position. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops and how the team goes generally, I think.
And what are you most looking forward to in this series?
Well, I think it's going to be a very different type of cricket to that we saw against New Zealand. I think that there's already been quite a few verbal barbs going across. But for me, what I'm looking forward to most is just seeing how, if England can continue to play the style of cricket they've been playing in recent weeks, and how that might put Australia under pressure. I think that will be a really interesting sort of subplot to the series. If England continue in the way they have been playing, then they have a chance. And it'll be interesting to see how Australia react to that, because in their last Test series against the West Indies really fell apart against Australia. So it'll be nice to see some English players standing up to them and then putting them under some pressure.
I absolutely agree, Rob. I'm particularly looking forward to see Johnston, Mitchell Starc really, coming off their long run, putting them under pressure. But I want to see England obviously stand up to them. So how, Alistair Cook, Adam Lyth, and the rest stand up to that barrage of fast bowling that we know they're going to get. They're going to get some short stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing who gets the upper hand there. So really to finish, Rob, overall prediction then, series scoreline. I know we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago where I think we both went Australia to win 2-1. Has anything in that period sort of changed your mind at all?
I'm still sticking with 2-1, but I think now I can really see England perhaps even winning this series, especially with the loss of Harris. I keep mentioning that, but I think it is a real big blow for them. So I still think Australia will win but I'll be very happy to be proved wrong.
Absolutely. Well, I'm in very much the same position. Yeah, the loss of Ryan Harris is a big one for Australia, but I've always been impressed by the way when they lose players through, particularly fast bowlers, they do tend to have others who can come in and do a job. Josh Hazlewood's very highly rated. Peter Siddle won't let anybody down, and Pat Cummins, I know he hasn't played the first class game for a long time, but he's a pretty impressive performer to have on the bench as well. So, plenty to look forward to over the next couple of months or so, Rob. We'll be in touch regularly on Cricket World TV and Hotspots. But for now, thank you very much for your time, and obviously enjoy the Cardiff Test.
Thanks, John. You too.
And thank you very much for watching us here on Cricket World TV. But from me and Rob, it's goodbye for now.